In this video, I'm going to react to the most patriotic moments in US sports history. Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Kabir Considers. This is the place where I react to music, media, sports, anime, anything related to popular culture. I'll watch it with an open mind and give you my 100% honest reaction to it. And if you could please hit that like button early, I'd really appreciate it. Now this should be fun because, just being at these huge college football stadiums, for example, must be just an amazing experience. And then to see, these huge flags that get unfurled, like I'm looking at the thumbnail for this video. This flag is probably the biggest flag I've ever seen in my life. It looks like it's almost the length of the football field. It must make you really proud of your country, to be American, and it must be a really great feeling. So just to see, other examples like this, I know it's going to be fun. So let's go. This is going to be me reacting to the most patriotic moments in US sports history. Let's do it.
Sporting events are always going to be a central part of the American
The size of the flag, man, it's huge.
Experience. In the fall, Americans tune in to watch their favorite sports, be it the NFL, MLB, NHL, and even the NBA. Every 2 years, we come together as a nation to support Team USA in the Winter or Summer Olympics. We even sometimes come together to watch the United States compete in World Cup play. It's happened. From the yellow ribbon tied around the Superdome during Super Bowl 15 to remember hostages taken in Iran, to chants of USA, USA, when a crowd in Philadelphia learned about the death of Osama bin Laden.
I remember that.
American sports fans and players wear their American hearts on their sleeves. So let's check out the top 10 most patriotic moments in sports history.
Let's go.
Number 10. Team USA carries the World Trade Center flag to the Olympics. Rarely does a flag presentation at the Olympic Games happen to a quiet crowd. But as 8 members of Team USA, flanked by members of the New York Police Department and New York Fire Department, marched the flag of the host country into the 2002 Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City, you could hear a pin drop. The flag they carried was found in the rubble of Ground Zero and had flown atop the World Trade Center in New York when the buildings were attacked on September 11th, 2001. That flag was under the debris for 3 days before being found and given to the National Guard. It took some time to convince the International Olympic Committee, who is responsible for keeping politics out of the Games, to approve the display of the torn and tattered banner. But on opening night, the World Trade Center's old glory flew proudly once more. Number 9. Rulon Gardner.
That must have been such an emotional moment, man. Just to know the story behind that particular flag. Yeah.
Defeats the undefeated. For a decade, Alexander
Karelin, this man was a freak, man. Probably the most dominant Greco-Roman wrestler of all time.
Karelin was the world's dominant super heavyweight wrestler. By the time the 2000 Olympics rolled around, Karelin, aka the Russian Bear, aka Alexander the Great, hadn't been defeated in a match since Russia was still called the Soviet Union.
Crazy.
And even then, that was his only loss, until he faced off with a dairy farmer from Wyoming. In 6 years, Karelin hadn't even given up a single point to an opponent.
Madness.
His American opponent, Rulon Gardner, hadn't placed higher than 5th in the world up until this point, and even lost to Karelin 5-0 before. But Karelin lost his grip and a point to Gardner in the second period.
Wow.
Number 8. Mary Lou Retton wins a gymnastic first. A little girl from West Virginia dealt a stunning blow to the Eastern Bloc during the Cold War when Mary Lou Retton brought home Olympic gold in 1984.
Nice. For me, gymnastics is one of the most underrated sports in terms of the athleticism of the competitors. It's just so hard. I mean, you've got to be able to carry your own body weight on the steel, on the beams and on the bars. You've got to be able to lift yourself. It takes a lot to be a professional gymnast, a lot.
Before Retton, Team USA was never able to wrest Olympic gold from the Eastern Europe in the individual all-around gymnastics event. She came into the event trailing Romania's Ekaterina Szabo, and she even had undergone a knee operation just 5 weeks before competing.
Wow.
In Retten's own words, she believes her performance showed that American-born and trained athletes can do anything, no matter what the odds are.
Awesome.
1999 Women's World Cup Final. The 1999 Women's World Cup came down to a shootout tiebreaker against the Chinese.
Wow. Off the
With the score tied 0-0 in extra time, the US team would end up winning based on penalties. It wasn't so much the gameplay that mattered, it was the draw. With 90,000 spectators.
Jeez, man, look at the stadium. This thing is just packed to the rafters. Like, this section here is almost thicker than the pitch. Crazy amount of people.
It was the largest turnout for a women's sporting event ever.
90,000.
The lasting image of the US win would be Brandi Chastain's post-penalty kick celebration of the victory, where she fell to her knees and took off her jersey, revealing the sports bra seen around the world. That image became one of Sports Illustrated's most iconic covers ever.
For sure.
Number 6, Joe Louis knocks out a Nazi.
Wow.
In 1938, Hitler was still touting the Germans as a master race, while German athletes competed the world over for top honors. On June 22nd, Max Schmeling met American champion, the Brown bomber Joe Louis. The first time the two met in 1936, Schmeling took advantage of a moment when Louis dropped his left hand after a jab, allowing Schmeling to give Louis his first loss in the 12th round of that fight. That would not happen again. With the world listening via radio.
Yeah, back then, like, our boxing had just like 1,000,000 rounds. Like, you'd fight for like 60 rounds, just grueling, long, just feats of endurance. Completely different to what it is now.
And more than 70,000 watching in Yankee Stadium. Louis unloaded on Schmeling, knocking him down 3 times in just 2 minutes. Schmeling was only able to throw 2 punches in a whole 1-round match.
Big right hand.
Number 5. The champ lights the Olympic torch. Lighting the Olympic flame at the end of the torch relay is an honor reserved for a legendary Olympic athlete from the host country. Does it get more legendary than the greatest Muhammad Ali? Except in 1996, the identity of the one who would light the flame was a close-kept secret. Even swimmer Janet Evans, who was handing the torch off, didn't know to whom she was handing it.
No way.
Ali was stricken with Parkinson's disease and had long since retired by this point. When Ali emerged to take the Olympic torch and light the flame, the sound in Atlanta was less a roar of applause and
man, just gets me like just to see Ali in that condition, just breaks my heart, really,
more of the collective gasp of elated surprise as the once great boxer, shaking, lit the torch.
May he rest in peace.
Number 4. Rick Monday saves the flag. Remember the MLB outfielder Rick Monday? He might be before most of our audience's time, but Monday was with the Los Angeles Dodgers' 1981 World Series winning team. Before that, he was the top prospect in the 1965 Major League Baseball draft. Somewhere in between, he saved Old Glory from public degradation. In 1976, Monday was with the Chicago Cubs, visiting the Dodgers. With Monday in center field during the 4th inning, 2 protesters jumped the outfield fence and tried to burn a flag on live television. Monday, seeing what was about to transpire, ran over and snatched the lighter fluid-soaked flag. The protesters were arrested, and Monday was able to keep the flag. Ever since that day, Monday used the actual flag to raise money for military families.
Awesome.
Number 3, the president's post-9/11 opening pitch. It might be hard to imagine the leader of the free world facing a new global war on terrorism, being psyched out by throwing the first pitch in Yankee Stadium. But in his own words, he absolutely was. Thousands of New Yorkers came to the stadium to watch President George W. Bush throw the pitch to open Game 3 of the 2001 World Series. It was also just weeks after 9/11.
Wow, so the emotion was still raw. It must have just been such an emotionally charged environment. Yeah.
He didn't want Americans to think the president was incapable of finding the plate. But as he practiced, Yankee Derek Jeter told him that he needed to both throw from the mound and not in front as originally planned, and not bounce it. They'll boo you, he told the president. Bush, shaken but loose, walked onto the field and threw a strike to an eruption of applause.
Nice.
Number 2, the Buckeye bullet burns Hitler. Before he ever arrived in Berlin for the 1936 Olympic Games, Jesse Owens had already set 3
Jesse Owens, yeah, that's a name that I've heard. Yeah, I think he's like an iconic sprinter, right?
world records and tied another. At Ohio State, he won 8 individual NCAA championships, which was a record in its own right. When he arrived in Berlin, he knew Nazi Germany was using the games as a showcase for its racial policies, but he was determined to compete anyway. Owens went on to win 4 gold medals in 1936,
4.
an unrivaled achievement until some 50 years later when Carl Lewis did the same in 1984. When Owens won gold in the long jump, the Olympic Committee told Hitler he had to greet all the winners or none at all. Hitler opted for none.
Wow.
As Owens won other events, Hitler would leave early. Nazi minister Albert Speer would later write that Hitler was, quote, highly annoyed by the series of triumphs by the marvelous colored American runner, Jesse Owens.
Well done, Jesse Owens.
Number 1, the miracle on ice. Would you bet money on a bunch of college amateurs taking on the world's greatest hockey team in a competition for Olympic gold? Not many would, and not many did, as it turns out. That was the situation Team USA faced in the 1980 Winter Olympics. It was a tough time for the United States. With hostages in Iran, an energy crisis, and runaway inflation, it looked like the American dream was coming to an end. But no words echoed through the ages like Al Michaels' "Do you believe in miracles?" as Team USA topped the Soviet Union 4-3.
Wow, that guy was missing a tooth, man. Hockey, such an underrated sport. These guys put everything on the line. I mean, they take a lot of punishment. They're skillful, technical, athletic. Yeah, very underrated.
One of the biggest upsets in sports history. That's our list. We hope it made you as proud as it made us. Leave us a comment.
That was awesome. Like, you know, even for me, you know, someone who isn't American, it's easy to understand why there would be so much emotion associated with these events. You know, just seeing Ali, you know, Muhammad Ali, just holding that flame, you know, despite he was trembling uncontrollably. That really struck something in me. It really, really did. And the guy who saved the flag from being burnt as well. Just really iconic moments that will probably live, you know, throughout history. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, turn on bell notifications, and keep throwing the recommendations my way. I know I say it all the time, but they genuinely help me out because if I know you enjoyed watching something, I'll definitely enjoy reacting to it. So like, subscribe, turn on bell notifications, keep throwing the recommendations, and I'll catch you in the next one.